Greetings and welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you could be here. Before we begin, please take a moment to smash those like and subscribe buttons down below and maybe consider dropping us a comment. It all helps feed the hungry algorithm. And while you're at it, maybe go visit me over on Patreon. Consider becoming a member and help keep my hungry editor fed. And before we go too much further, a huge shout out to my Tier 4 patrons. Russ of the Frozen North, Neo5AC, Nick, and Zachary Langmead. Thank you very much. Now, on with the story. The Deathworlders, a story by Philip R. Johnson, a.k.a. Hambone, Hambone HFY, and Hambone 3110. Chapter 23, Back Down to Earth, Part 5. Date point, 10 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, 1 day AV. HMS Charmin, HMNB Folktha Cimbrean, the far reaches. Adam Ades. For a blissful few seconds when Adam woke up, there was just the light of sunrise staining what promised to be a clear blue sky and the loose, relaxed feelings of muscles newly mended by Crew D. In those seconds, the world was perfect. Then, yesterday hit him in the head. Fuck. He levered himself upright. He was still in his civvies, basketball shorts and a t-shirt that he made himself, and one of the few items of clothing that was actually loose on him. Baseball was slumped in an armchair in the doorway, snoring quietly with a book on his knee. Somebody had draped a blanket over him, and there was a mug of tea on the floor next to him, untouched and long gone cold. Adam recognized one of Major Powell's mugs. Remorse stabbed him in the heart. Base was going to be suffering from lost sleep for the rest of the day, which was no fun at all on the SOR's training regime. A quick glance at the clock said that it was only 0530. A Cimbrean day was 28 hours long in total, close enough to Earth that people didn't really suffer from the difference. In fact, the extra hours usually translated to feeling like every day had been both productive and restful. Still, if Base had been up most of the night... John. Base started slightly in his seat and blinked his eyes open. Oh, shit. He straightened up, moving his back sinuously with a rapid fire of little pops and crackles as he cleared out the stiffness from a few hours of bad posture. Wasn't supposed to sleep. You okay, bro? Adam asked him. Are you? Fuck if I know, Adam grumbled and sat up properly, swinging his feet down onto the floor. John didn't say anything, just bookmarked what he'd been reading, retrieving the tea, sipped it, grimaced, and took both book and drink into the kitchen. A few seconds later, Adam heard the microwave door close and hum into life. First things first. After any serious injury that was repaired by Crew D, the first thing to do was to test it. 20 push-ups were more than enough to confirm that his elbow was fine, and they blasted out some of the dust in his head for good measure. He padded through into the kitchen. You stayed up all night? He asked. Yeah, we figured somebody had to keep an eye on you. Dude, I wasn't going to do something stupid. I know, just... John shrugged expansively and sipped his reheated tea. Thanks, bro. First breakup's always the worst, John sighed. I can't believe her, Adam sighed, thumping over to the fridge. To his quiet delight, there was still half a box of Eggos in there. Where did you even get these on Cimbrean? Londis. Adam grunted and nodded as he turned on the grill. Able seaman Thomas Londis Magoro derived his nickname from a chain of British convenience stores, thanks to his legendary ability to procure almost anything. If you wanted something and you wanted it quickly, you went to Londis. I gotta ask, brother, John said. Eggos? Adam shrugged. My dad made them for me whenever Mom was being difficult. Guess they're my comfort food, he laughed. Hell, shove enough butter and syrup on them and they're probably a great fit for our macronutrients, right? John gave a half-hearted half laugh and sipped his tea again. Something wrong? Adam asked. Stop trying to put a brave face on it, man. You're torn up, John told him. Adam hesitated, then shook his head and waved his hands resignedly. It's done, man. It's over. Fuck her. I just gotta move on, I guess. John just gave him a patient stare. All right, I just don't know why, man. How could she? What the fuck? She just threw it all away. Why? Brother, I love you, but you've got the girl smarts of a fucking 10-year-old, John grunted and drained his mug. You're saying it's my fault? Adam asked, incredulous. Nah, John shook his head, but it takes two to dance, man. Do you really think you were being fair on her? Never there? Not really there even when you were there? You follow me? She's still the one who... Yeah, John interrupted. But I've done that shit too, man. Adam blinked at him. You have? I played around, yeah. Ain't proud of it, but... John scratched his head thoughtfully. Look, the cheater's to blame, but they cheat for a reason. And at the time, it seemed like a good reason. That's all I'm saying. Adam didn't reply, and they lapsed into thoughtful silence until the Eggos were out of the grill and drowned in butter and maple syrup. What could I have done differently, though, man? He asked. I wrote her all the time, called her every chance I got, took as much leave as I could to spend time with her. You know what I remember? John asked. Adam had served him a couple of the Eggos as well, and he had apparently decided he enjoyed them. You remember the night we were on the plane coming up to Scotch Creek to jump here, and she called you really upset about something? And at the end of that call, she was mad at you and hung up, and you had no idea what she'd even called about. Yeah? Par for the fucking course with you, bro. Every conversation you two ever had worked out like that somehow. I mean, did you ever even ask her how her degree was going? Or take a look at her website? She has a website? John rocked back. Are you... You don't even fucking know she has a website? What's on this website? Her photos, man. She's a photographer, or did you not notice that? It's her portfolio. Adam just stared at him, shaking his head slightly while he chewed. Jesus fuck. John rubbed his forehead. Do I actually know more about your girlfriend than you do? Ex-girlfriend. And this is fucking why, man. This shit right here is why she cheated on you. Adam looked down at his plate. Doesn't excuse it, he grunted. No, but it explains it, though. John took a breath and cooled down. She didn't just do this just because, brother. She had a reason, even if that reason wasn't good enough. I mean, how much leave did you have saved up? 60 days? Use it or lose it, right? I remember the major had to order us to take leave time. Yeah, but ramping down and coming back up at the training times takes a month. That would have put us behind. Adam, John sighed. I'm not telling you if you were right or wrong not to take the leave. I'm telling you why it happened and what more you could have done, that's all. You could have taken more leave. You could have spent more time with her. Or you could have actually taken an interest. You didn't do any of those things and, well, this happened. She's the one who did it, but you've got to ask yourself why she felt she had to, right? Not wanting to admit out loud that he was probably right, Adam forced himself to shut up and think, rather than argue anymore. He kept to himself for the next couple of hours as the rest of the guys woke up, and as the morning routine of keeping the dorm clean and tidy unfolded, necessary because it would have reeked of male musk, body odor, and sweat otherwise. The simple chores gave him time for his mind to work. For their part, the guys clearly sensed that he wasn't in a talkative mood, and were cool with that. They were just there, solid and dependable, giving him exactly what he needed, room and quiet to think. He appreciated that hugely. They were in the middle of hanging out in the laundry when the dorm's phone rang. Akiyama fielded it. Yo, horse, call from the gate guard for you. Adam and Base shared a frown, and he jogged over to take the call. Ares. Staff Sergeant, I have a gentleman asking for you by name. He says it's important. Name of Harvey. Sean Harvey. Turn him away, Adam told them. He says He says Ava's gone missing, Sergeant. Adam must have paused for longer than he thought, because the next word he heard was, Sergeant? I'll be right there. He notified Rebar of where he was going and jogged the few hundred meters over to the main gates. Sure enough, Sean was loitering at the guard post, pacing nervously. Adam didn't waste time on being nice. What do you want? She's just gone. She went to see her dad last night, and now nobody knows where she is, Sean explained. I'm kind of worried she might... Shut up! Adam spun away from him, and he was halfway back to the gates when Sean spoke up. This is why she did it, you know. Adam didn't turn around, but he did stop. Do you even care about her? He asked. Or did you just want to get your dick wet? Do you care about her? Sean retorted. Or just about your fucking territory? Several 100 pounds of angry SOR operator was in his face half a second later. To Sean's credit, he did little more than rock back on his heels. He was shaking, but he held his own. You're just going to walk away and let her be missing? I was going, Adam snarled, to request leave to go look for her. Sergeant, the guards at the gate stepped forward cautiously. Break it up, please. You know where she is? Sean asked, ignoring them. Adam didn't ignore them. He straightened. What the fuck makes you think you have the right to know? He asked. Because I'm her bloody friend, you giant pillock, Adam snapped. Adam's fist clenched. Friend? He asked. Is that what you call it? Yes. Sergeant, the gate guards had drawn closer. Break it up, please. Adam spared them a sideways glance, then very, very carefully relaxed his hand before he aimed a finger at Sean's face. You don't get shit from me, Harvey, he growled. She can tell you herself where she got off to, after I've gone and got her. Fuck her, fuck you, and fuck off. He stalked back through the gates, back to the dorm, and right up to Rebar, who'd taken over as their NCOIC once they'd lost Legsy. Requesting leave, he said, getting right to the point. Rebar blinked at him. Dude, you could have just told the gate guard. Yeah, I'm gonna be gone all day. Wanted to grab some stuff and tell you in person. Rebar gave him a hug. Okay, brother. You go do what you gotta do. Adam just nodded and gave him a weak smile. He spun around the dorm, grabbing his light ruck from under his bunk, and threw in a couple of pouches of juice, an old sweater of his that he never wore any longer on account of it being much too small, 2 bags of beef jerky, and a small first aid kit. He changed his footwear, too. He usually wore flip-flops or went barefoot around the base. Boots and shoes were too expensive and broke too quickly between the size of his feet, his own mass, and his tendency to bounce around rather than lumber. His hiking sandals, on the other hand, had taken everything he could throw at them for 2 years. A couple more essentials, including his phone, and he was back out of the gate less than 10 minutes after he'd sent Sean packing. He hung an immediate left, followed the fence around 2 sides of the base, and then set out through the young, broadleaf plantation that came right up as close as the foresters were allowed. It was exactly what he needed. Adam had never been the kind of guy who did his greatest thinking in a quiet room at the best of times, and 5 years in the service had only strengthened the connection between his muscles and his brain. It was almost like one couldn't work properly unless the other was busy. Sure, a simple, steady hike, even at the hard pace he set, through gently sloping woodland wasn't exactly taxing, but it was enough to settle his body into a rhythm and let his brain get down to business. Anybody coming back down the trail would have been a little alarmed to run into a guy who put pro wrestlers to shame, talking angrily to himself. He spent the first 2 miles aggressively rehearsing all the ways he was going to tell Ava off. Then he spent the next 2 miles telling himself off, rehearsing the ways to reconcile, rehearsing her side of the argument. When he did eventually run into somebody, it was an elderly couple, out walking their dog, probably from one of the little peripheral forest communities. Folk that had attracted a lot of them, elderly couples and early retirees wanting a place where their pensions would go further. A nudist camp. The odd religious commune, kept under close scrutiny by Cimbrean colonial security in case they started showing any cultish behavior, or just second homes owned by hard-working reclamation project workers and folk the city employees who wanted somewhere quieter to retreat to for the weekend. He saw them long before they were in earshot, shut up and met them with a polite touch to his forehead and a "Sir? Ma'am?" and ignored the stares. People around folk that were pretty used to the SOR, but these two has clearly never met one of the operators before. Their reaction was pretty standard for first-timers. The contact was enough to shut him up for the rest of the walk, or at least turn his thought process into a steady mill of ideas being worked over internally, rather than a crazy person shouting at trees. He was almost in a positive mood when he finally reached the point where the trail branched, leading off in one direction towards Scrap Point, a research outpost dedicated to diving the alien spaceship wreckage on the lake bed. The other way went on to Sarah's Beach, a public recreation spot that was actually a good kilometer or so from the spot that he personally thought of as Sarah's Beach, but much more accessible. He followed the second trail until it intersected the paved road, and rather than hanging a right and walking down to the lake shore as the trail signs directed, instead crossed straight over and plunged on into the woods. The ecological calamity that the Cimbrean Reclamation Project insisted on calling the Terran Microbe Action Zone, and which the colonists knew rather less formally as the skid mark, hadn't ever reached out this far, and so none of the native flora had been felled. It was still being steadily and relentlessly choked out by earthly imports, but that was all part of the plan. First had come logging everything within 10 kilometers of the zone, replanting and populating with species imported from Earth. And that was it. The natural aggressiveness and biological advantage of Deathworld life was being left to do the rest. The rest was a confused boundary zone where imported broadleaf trees gave way to a tangle of Earth and Cimbrean flora, the latter steadily dying back as the former outgrew them, shaded them over, guzzled the soil nutrients, and, in a lot of cases, parasited them. And then, nothing but natives. Native trees, native birdish things and mammalish things, and other life forms that were, for the most part, surprisingly ordinary looking. The birdish things had mouths with teeth rather than beaks, and the mammalish things were covered in something that was more like moss than like fur or wool, and of course the universal constant in Cimbrean fauna was 3 eyes. But nothing that actually looked amazingly exotic. Just getting on with the business of living and oblivious to the creeping extinction only a few hundred yards away. There was even a stand of Cimbreana Simiscamellia delanei, the Cimbrean tea bush. It was growing not even 20 yards from a thorny, berry-laden starl of Terraner rubus frutoscus. The botanists had decided very early on that in order to remain sensible and useful, the taxonomic system of classification needed to be amended to include, above the domain level, the planet rank. Adam had to admit, Cimbrean was still beautiful. He heard Ava long before he saw her. He could even hear her voice between the trees and bushes, talking to somebody. He had no idea who. Sean hadn't mentioned anybody else being missing, and people never came this far along the shore from Sarah's Beach. She turned out to be talking to herself. She was right where he'd known she'd be, seated on the same old rock where she'd always sat, facing out towards the same view with her clothes folded neatly on the stone next to her, resting with her elbows on her knees, looking down at her feet. She flinched when she realized somebody was there, and relaxed when she saw who it was. "Hey." Adam blinked. He hadn't foreseen that she'd be nude. Did you swim?" "No, I didn't swim," she shook her head. I'm more comfortable this way up here." She leaned over and grabbed her t-shirt. "Aren't you cold?" he asked. She flapped her shirt to get it the right way out. "Kinda, but it's not too bad." "Who were you talking to anyways?" Adam asked her. There was nobody else present. This is going to sound really stupid. Ava's face went a little red as she tugged her shirt on and covered up. "What?" "I was talking to Sarah." Adam hesitated, then gently rested a concerned hand on her upper back. "Baby." The term of endearment surprised him. After everything, after learning what she'd done, his first instinct was still to be tender and to love her? "I know," Ava nodded and rubbed her face. "I know she's dead. I know. It's stupid. She was 14, Ava. Adam sat down. Maybe not the best source of life wisdom, you know? Ava sobbed a laugh. Then they sat together in silence for a long time, not touching, but close. I brought some juice and a sweater and stuff. Adam handed her the bag. A tiny grateful smile put in a cameo appearance as she dug out one of the juice pouches and the sweater, which she shrugged on. She must have been colder than she realized. I should probably have told somebody where I was going, huh? Sean was worried for you. And he went to you? Yeah, he's got balls, I'll give him that. Ava didn't answer. Instead, she impaled the juice pouch with a straw and drained it. What were you talking to Sarah about anyways? Adam asked her once she'd finished. Ava glanced at him, then down at her bare feet. You know what's really stupid? She asked. Like, really, what the fuck is wrong with me, stupid? She looked at him again. You explained everything perfectly yesterday. You put it totally into perspective. I get it. I get just how badly I fucked up. And there's still this bitch voice in the back of my head that wants me to believe, that's trying to tell me that I did nothing wrong. She looked out over the lake. I was trying to get rid of it. By talking to Sarah. She nodded, miserably picking at a fingernail. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? He shook his head gently. Not really. Nothing makes sense. Adam mulled the comment over. No, he decided. Things do make sense. You know what the weirdest part of all this is? What? If you just told me or asked me, fuck, I might have even been okay with it because I get it. I understand, but you put it perfectly yesterday too. I married the Air Force first, he sighed. But instead you lied to me, Ava. For what? 2 years. About that, she agreed, nodding sadly. I get that I was neglecting you, Adam told her. I get that I was making decisions for both of us without consulting you. Hell, I get that he was probably even good for you. What I just don't get is why you couldn't be straight with me. He wiped his own eyes off. For God's sake, yeah. Breaking up with me would have hurt, but this? Ava, who usually shed tears so easily, seemed to have run out. Or maybe she'd just gone somewhere past them, where they were no longer relevant. Either way, her face was a mask of dry despondency. Why, Ava? I've been asking myself that same question all morning. And I really thought I was doing it for you. Charlotte said it was because I was lonely and horny, but I can remember thinking, it's this or I lose him. And she exhaled and ran 3 fingers through her hair. It's so stupid. I'm so stupid. If I hadn't gotten so hung up on holding on to the past, at least I'd still have my integrity, you know? But because I got it in my head that I was doing it for you, I went and did completely the wrong thing. Adam stood up. I thought I was doing this for you, he told her, gesturing at the full, hugely muscled mass of himself. But you said it last night. You didn't want or need me to do this. I sure as fuck didn't want or need you to cheat on me. He sat down again. Maybe we both need to stop believing our own bullshit, he concluded. Ava just stared at him, so he sighed and elaborated. I thought I was doing this to protect you, he said. Really, I did. I was convinced. But you're right. If I'd really been acting for you, then, hell, I'd have probably have gone into colonial security and then been there for you every night. And instead, I just got caught up in this. I was angry and grieving over Sarah. I wanted to fight back. And then it turned out I'm good at fighting back. The best, maybe. He looked out across the lake, choosing his words. Do you know what it's like to get pulled along into something like that? Where everything just lines up and you'd never even think of slowing down or stopping because it just feels right. Because you're enjoying it so much you don't ever want it to end. Ava nodded. You feel like you're taking back your life, she agreed. Right. You feel like you're in control, but really you're strapped in for the ride because you've got a wheel in your hands and you don't notice that you're not doing the steering. Right. That's how it was for me too, she said. Do you think that's the truth? Adam asked her. Or is it just more bullshit we're inventing to make ourselves feel better? Ava paused. I think it's the truth, she said. Or at least, I hope it is. She trailed off, then spread her arms helplessly. I don't know anymore. I spent all this time trying to do the right thing and did completely the wrong thing instead. I don't know if I can trust what's in my head. Then how can I trust you? Adam asked. Ava didn't answer, just stared despairingly at the water. A couple of minutes elapsed in mutual silence before she spoke quietly. We're done, aren't we? Adam nodded and stood up. I love you, Ava, he said. But there's just no... I can't. I know. She looked up at him, grief and remorse written in every nuance of her expression. I'm so sorry, Adam. I'm sorry, too. He turned his back on her and started back up the trail. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am the Casual Deathworlder, your host, and this has been The Deathworlders, Chapter 23, Part 5. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. If you did, go ahead and smash those like and subscribe buttons, and maybe drop us a comment down below and help feed the hungry algorithm. And before I go too much further, a huge shout out to my editor, Graygor. Thank you very much. Okay, that was Part 5, one more part to go. And we'll be on to Chapter 24. All right, question, who's got the question? Okay. If you had the money to travel right now, say somebody dropped $500,000 in your lap right now and said, just go travel for the next year, where would you go and what would you do? Leave your answers in the comments down below. Until next time, be safe, be well. I love you all. Bye-bye. It was almost like one couldn't work properly unless the other was busy. Okay, we just got an emergency alert that the river nearby is going to flood within the next 1 to 6 days. Lovely. Now, where the fuck was I? Gonna have to back up a little bit because I completely lost my place.